You're listening to Civic Media. You can tune into any of our live shows on any radio station across the state with the Civic Media app. Find us in your phone's app store and listen anytime, anywhere.
You're listening to Mornings with Pat Kreitlow on WAUK. My name is Greg Bach. Happy Tuesday. Good morning, and here's what's going on in southeastern Wisconsin. When people come together with a shared goal and a collective voice, many things can be accomplished. And a prime example of this point is Groundswell Collective. They are a group of individuals from the community of Walworth County, and they come together to work on various issues that affect the people of that area directly. And I spoke to Jeremiah Gomez and Marilyn Hayden about the work they have done to help get access to transportation on Sundays for those who need it the most. But before we get into that, let's talk to Jeremiah and Marilyn about what Groundswell is, who is a part of it, and what they do for the community.
Well, Groundswell, I think in a nutshell, is really just a group of people who have a shared desire to see the people of Walworth County thrive.
Yeah.
And so it's a group of people from many different ages, stages, and backgrounds who have found this shared affinity to say, what does it look like for us to pursue the thriving of our community together, especially those who may be underserved or kind of forgotten.
Yeah. And that's something that, you know, especially in today's day and age, and we need to come together even more so as communities. As we're seeing various programs, funding's being cut, it's important to look around and say, all right, how do I involve myself with the people around me? And that's something that looking at what you're doing is exactly the plan, is saying, all right, let's take care of each other, because we might be all that we have. And I don't want to say you can't rely upon government, but it shouldn't be in situations like this, it's where we say it's like all right, we have to step forward and do the work first, and take the bull by the horn.
Sure. And I think, I can't speak for Maryland, but I think, you know, for me, I was entering into a space where there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of concern. I'm seeing that among the people I love and serve. And I've got to say, by connecting with people like her and the others in our network, it's given me a renewed sense of hope and peace as we say, there is an opportunity to lean forward and to see the very best as yet to come as we come together. And that's been really fun to see.
Marilyn, how is what do you, as far as the group goes, what are you involved with? What are you working on? What do you do for Groundswell Collective?
Well, right now I'm interested in the transportation. I'm visually impaired, legally blind, and I don't drive. So that put me in that category of people who are grounded because we have no way to get places.
And that's something that, you know, I've been in part of the conversation with for so long. I used to work for city government here in Racine.
Okay.
And one of the big, we saw the bus services being cut because of cuts from the state. We saw the state saying no thank you to a plan that it was very much in the infancy. There was no real blueprint, but we just said, how about we take some of all this money that you're putting towards rebuilding our roads and widening our freeways? How about we bring a metro line up to Racine so people from Racine could possibly have transportation to Chicago to get jobs? Like transportation was always something that was very high up on the mayor who I worked for, on his list. And it consistently is slapped down. I feel like transportation, especially in busing situations, for folks like yourself, Marilyn, who you need that access. A lot of times our leaders don't truly understand how important it is, because I don't think it doesn't affect them to a certain point. And the lobbying that comes from them don't have the money that, say, you know, a gun lobby or a roads lobby has. So it's up to folks like yourself to come together, organize, and speak on behalf of folks like yourself, Marilyn, who need this transportation. And that's what you did. And that's what you did in Walworth. And not only, and I don't want to give away the whole story, but it came together and it worked in stunning fashion. Can you tell the story of what you all did to get more hours on the buses in Walworth County?
Yeah, I mean, well, it started with an awareness that Walworth County was the only county within its kind of status that didn't have a Sunday transportation option for people.
None?
It did not have a public Sunday transportation option. Right.
Oh God! I just figured. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is moving from something that wasn't available to I can't remember quite what the numbers are, Marilyn, but I think it was in January when it finally kicked off. I think it was around, did we say 20 riders?
20, I think.
And then in June up to 200 in round figures.
Yeah.
So that shows that there's a real need there. How that happened were folks like Marilyn showing up at those county board meetings, budget meetings, but it took really connecting with her and friends that she had and friends that we had and saying, we want our leaders to know this is a real felt need, that there are real faces and stories who are connected to this need. And they were responsive.
And that, I think, is the most impressive. I shouldn't be impressed by that, but I'm impressed by leaders who listen nowadays. When you hear elected officials, whether they are local, state, or federal, listening to the people and saying, all right, Marilyn, you have a need. How do we meet that need? And I want to read the numbers because I have it in the press release here. In January in Walworth County, when this program started, because as you said, there was no Sunday ridership whatsoever, which to me is mind-blowing because I guess they just expected you to stay home. It was 40 trips that month in January. By June of this year, it was 229. In less than half a year, it went up by 472.5%.
Yeah.
That shows, one, to me, the power of organizing, doing exactly what you did. The leaders listening and implementing, and it becoming a return on investment because, you have to pay for the buses, the servicing, the people who did, but it obviously with 472.5% increase, that is a net benefit for everyone, whether you're riding or you're repairing the bus.
Or you have an employee who needs to be able to get to work, or you're somebody who's looking to go to church and can't connect into meaningful community in that way. So we really have seen it be a beautiful thing.
In the next hour, I'm going to be playing for you another clip from this interview I did with Jeremiah Gomez and Marilyn Hayden from Groundswell Collective. And they'll be talking about the event they're going to be holding today, this morning, their call to action for childcare. So you don't want to miss it. If you want to find out more, go to civicmedia.us/shows. Look for Matt and Air on air, and you can find all the information on our show notes. You're listening to WAUK's Local Report on Mornings with Pat Kreitlow. For WAUK and Civic Media, my name is Greg Bach. I'll talk to you in 20 minutes. It's 6:59.
You're listening to Civic Media. Stay up to date on the latest news and information for your local community and Wisconsin by signing up for our free email newsletter. Visit civicmedia.us/email to get started.
You're listening to Mornings with Pat Kreitlow on WAUK. My name is Greg Bach. I'm back, and here's what's going on in southeastern Wisconsin this morning. You know, there's a lot of great guests that come through for the Don Rosen Show, but I wanted to highlight one specifically, and that is Megan Harper and Phil Hill from the African American Chamber of Commerce of Racine. And they didn't just talk to Don about their great events, but they also got into the subjects of chemical engineering and martial arts.
Now, what is the African American Chamber of Commerce? I know what the CFCs are, but what's the African American Chamber of Commerce?
So we're a collective of business owners here in Racine and Kenosha that have come together under the guidance of Georgianne Stenson. Her collective vision has been to bring underrepresented businesses to the forefront, as well as to provide any resources such as classes and other online connectivity and endorsement to push it out into the community so we can make a better connection with it.
In real life, these two people have very interesting lives when they're not doing the Lakefront Expo. Megan, you in real life, you are I say in real life, in your normal everyday life.
I'm actually an analytical chemist, so I'm second generation small business owner. So I will be at some point taking the reins of analytical testing laboratory. So we are currently looking at insecticides as well as various other consumer products. And we typically use gas chromatography analysis. Sounds really complicated, but all it is a separation process where you vaporize something and send it through this really tiny tube. And then as it goes down the tube, it separates and you can see the compounds and analyze them as they will tell you whether or not you're still in specification for that product over months of storage.
And you have to be a grammar school graduate, I assume. You had to graduate at least the 6th grade to get to this job.
It definitely helps. It helps. There's some math involved. I may have been forced to take a quantum mechanics class, but that's neither here nor there.
When I was a little kid, I wanted to be one of 3 things: either an ice cream man, stock car driver, or on the radio. Did you want to be a chemist when you were a kid?
I actually wanted to be a paleontologist before anyone knew what Jurassic Park was.
Really?
And I had always explained it. What's a paleontologist? And then Jurassic Park came out, and it was like, oh, thank goodness. I don't need to explain it anymore.
Wow. How about you, Phil? What do you do in real life?
I spent about 45 years, most of my adult life since high school, in electronic security and safety systems. That is basically alarm systems, burglar fire alarm, access control door systems, and camera systems. The things we use every day in life. In fact, you let me in the building today with the very door system.
My sneaky camera system.
The doorbell system, the video doorbell, which, can I say, because we're talking about African-American businesses, the video doorbell system was basically innovated through an African-American nurse from New York. She was a nurse full-time. Her husband was an electrical engineer, but she came home at night and she was worried about her safety. So she drew on a piece of paper, which became a blueprint, and that blueprint basically is today's Ring doorbell and smart home system. ADT, the global giant, recognizes her as the innovator.
Really?
Of that. Yes. Her name is Marie Van Britten Brown.
Everybody's got the Ring doorbells now.
Yep.
Yes.
They're so common.
Everyone.
And when you think about how simple it is to use.
I wish I'd have put the two together, the doorbell and the video camera. And yeah, so that's what I've done. And I teach it now as well at the Milwaukee Electrical JATC, the Training Center for Continued Education for our electrical trade members in Milwaukee.
Well, my wife has to control the Ring system at home because I don't understand it. She's got the main control panel on her phone.
Yep.
I can't reset things. I can't set it up. She just put me on there as a, I can just be a user of it.
Sure.
But I can't control anything.
Keep your fingers off those controls.
Right.
That work these.
I change the battery in it once a month outside. That's about all I'm allowed to do on that. Well, that's interesting. You guys have interesting jobs in your real lives.
Yes.
Whoa, that's very good. What's Taekwondo? It's not. I know there's judo. There's Taekwondo.
Yes.
So what is Taekwondo?
So Taekwondo is a traditional Korean martial art. There's 2 major iterations. So there's WTF is what you see in the Olympics. So that's World Taekwondo Federation. It's more of the sport Taekwondo. A lot of people refer to us as karate, so I almost said it. It makes it easier for people to understand. And then the one that we practice is ITF, International Taekwondo, which is more of a traditional hard style. So you'll see the forms, traditional forms. You'll see we still freeze spar. Unlike the Olympic style, we allow punching to the head. There's some little other iterations, but we do more of the traditional. You'll see a lot of the things that you think of when you see none of the clay pots holding, not quite the movies where you're hours on end. We try to make it palatable for the
So
children.
you're not the Karate Kid.
Not exactly. Not quite like that.
So as a demonstration, she's going to throw Phil through the studio window here in just a few minutes.
You need cameras for that.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Does it matter how big your opponent is? Or could you take on anybody?
The point. Okay, so we also have a sister art too called Hapkido, which actually is more of the joint manipulations, joint locks, throws, which is what you're referring to, incorporated into our system. Again, traditional Korean martial art. And with the 2 together, we have what we call a more complete system. So as far as size goes, it's always wise to evaluate and use your...
Don't pick a fight with somebody who's beat you by 100 pounds.
But my instructor has always said something very apt, which is he's never been picked on by someone smaller than him.
Our thanks to Megan Harper and Phil Hill from the African American Chamber of Commerce of Racine for stopping by to talk about all the great things they're doing in the community. If you want to listen to that entire interview, go to civicmedia.us/shows. Look for The Don Rosen Show and download it directly to your device and listen to it anytime, anywhere. Again, that's civicmedia.us/shows. Stick around because in the 8 o'clock hour, Pat welcomes Brittney Merlot with the weather, Courier News DC correspondent Cam Stevenson, and Civic Media's political editor Dan Schaefer with state politics. Stay tuned. You're listening to WAUK's local report on Mornings with Pat Kreitlow. To take your favorite WAUK shows with you on the go, download the free Civic Media app in the Apple or Google Play Store. For WAUK and Civic Media, my name is Greg Bach. I'll talk to you in 20 minutes. It's 7:29.
You're listening to Mornings with Pat Kreitlow on WAUK. My name is Greg Bach. I'm back, and here's what's going on in southeastern Wisconsin this morning. In the previous hour, I played for you a clip from an interview I did with Jeremiah Gomez and Marilyn Hayden from Groundswell Collective, a grassroots organization, and they talked about the work they did to get transportation access to those who need it on Sundays in the county. And we kick things off with me getting my facts straight. And something that I want to clarify, though, when I saw this and I think of ridership, I think of the bus.
Sure.
We're not talking about the public bus. We're talking about a program that gets you ridership on Sunday because you, as you said, there's no bus.
That's correct.
So it is a whole different system that you have as far as ridership goes. Can you explain that really quickly to me and to the listeners so they can delineate?
Sure. So Marilyn, when you're looking for a ride, how do you get that set up?
I call the VIP services in Elkhorn, and they schedule me for my time, whatever I want. And then it's a van, mostly. They have different kinds of vans, all the way from a SUV type to where they could carry a wheelchair. And they'll schedule me for my ride to come and pick me up, take me to my place, pick me up, and take me home if I wish.
Yeah.
And it's at a very reasonable price.
Okay.
For anywhere in Walworth County.
Great. And okay, because like I said, I apologize. I thought we were just talking about Sunday bus service, and that alone, I'm like, why don't you have a bus, Walworth County? But that just makes me even happier than that you now have the access to that, and that it is affordable because nowadays we see prices going up on everything. The fact that you can afford to get a ride to where you need to go is important. There's also another thing too in the press release that you and Marilyn off air you mentioned you wanted to talk about too, and it's a very big problem. It's this service also helps people combat isolation, loneliness, because I mean that's not a new thing in this world, of course, but the pandemic, and I know from my experience watching people, my family get older, there's a tendency to isolate, to not go out as much for their reasons. And I'm not going to criticize nor get into it right now, but this is also not just about getting people where they need to be, but getting them out in the world and talking to people. Tell me more about that and the importance of it.
Well, isolation is a deadly disease almost in the country, and people are stuck at home. They can't get out.
Yeah.
Maybe don't have a network of friends and family that can get them places, and even shopping and to other more entertainment bases, like to the movies or something like that. And they really need to have that option.
Absolutely. And I imagine just Groundswell Collective too. When I think about it, you are a collective. You are the people. Even if it's just getting to a meeting, it gets you out in the world. It gets you talking to people. It gets you connected over coffee or a meal, or as you were doing, a mission. You have a mission with your group. And I think that's, maybe an unthought of aspect that is a positive, which is to get people out there connecting, because it's so easy to be at your computer. It's so easy to be on your phone. I can contact all my quote friends on my phone, but really It's about, as you said, getting out in the world and connecting, whether it's for a doctor's appointment or going to the movies. So I think that's a fantastic aspect to discuss, especially when it comes to what you are doing at Groundswell Collective. We're going to keep that conversation going to two big events, one taking place tonight and one then tomorrow. But if you have any questions or comments, 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC is the number you can always call or comment. Jeremiah, like, what is do you yourself have any experience in organizing before you got involved with this group?
No, I mean, the reason I got connected is I'm a pastor in the county, and I just saw a need and found some connection with others who were wanting to really pursue thriving. And and like, how can we do that? You mentioned, seeing people, getting together, life on life connection. That's so important. Yeah. One of the things that I found is that for whatever reason, over the past year, I've been able to meet with civic leaders at the national level, at the state level, at the county level, at the local level. And I haven't yet, in those in-person meetings, I haven't yet met somebody who isn't genuinely trying to serve the people.
Yeah.
And they may do that in a different way than I would. Yeah. But it's been so good for me to have those connections. And I celebrate that the people in Walworth County, our leaders there, are so open to conversations, to hearing from the people. Maybe not on every issue. You get those things where people have their own perspective. Yeah. But one of the great things we've learned about with organizing is how to have conversations that invite a different perspective when somebody might seem entrenched in a different perspective.
Because, and we say this all the time, it's easy to isolate ourselves off into our social media worlds, but when we sit in a room together and we talk about what we want and what we need, it usually crosses paths. It usually connects. It really comes together, and the general things we want in this world, we agree with.
Yes.
If you'd like to find out more about Groundswell Collective, go to their Facebook page. In fact, go there today, because this afternoon they are having an event, a call to action for childcare. Last night they gathered like minds together to talk about this issue, and today they are going to speak with the people who are in charge. Talk to elected officials, talk to people of influence in the community, and try to get something done for this very important issue that we in Wisconsin all agree with. Access to childcare is something that we all agree on, and we all think it's important. And Groundswell Collective is doing the real work to try to make that a reality in Walworth County. So check out their page on Facebook, Groundswell Collective. If you'd like to listen to that entire interview, there's way more to go with that. Go to civicmedia.us/shows. Look for Matt and Air on Air and download the episode entitled When We All Work Together. That's hour 2 of Matt and Air on Air from Monday, September 8th. Again, that's civicmedia.us/shows. Stick around, because after the news, Pat welcomes Brittney Merlot with the weather, Cam Stevenson from Courier Newsroom on Capitol Hill, and Dan Schaefer at 8:35 with state politics. Stay tuned. You're listening to WAUK's local report on Mornings with Pat Kreitlow. To take all your favorite WAUK shows with you on the go, download the free Civic Media app in the Apple or Google Play Store. For WAUK and Civic Media, my name is Greg Bach. I'll talk to you in 20 minutes. It's 7:59.
You're listening to Civic Media. Find the latest news, information, and archives of all your favorite shows on the Civic Media website, civicmedia.us.
You're listening to Mornings with Pat Kreitlow on WAUK. My name is Greg Bach, and I'm back, and here is what's going on in southeastern Wisconsin this morning. Her intro music is back, and that means one thing and one thing only. Civic Media's multi-award-winning meteorologist Brittney Merlot is here to talk about not only the weather, but things that have to do with the weather, how we keep ourselves safe, how we keep ourselves prepared for what's going on. And today we're talking about a piece of technology that's designed to keep us safe when we're on the go, doing kind of those more extreme things out in the wild, whether we're in the air, on the water, or going for a real long hike. So if you feel like I'm talking to you, you want to take a listen. Brittney, it's always great to have you here talking about the weather, talking about what's going on in the world of weather. But today we're going to focus on something a little different, and that's keeping yourself safe. And there's a new device out there that you can keep on your person when you're traveling, whether you're on the land or on water. Tell us more about the personal black box.
Yeah, so a little bit of a dark topic. Maybe we, try to stay away from that and thinking of the worst thing happening. But I like to plan. I like to be prepared. And I do like to venture out in the woods and places remote with no cell phone service quite often. So when I found out about this like personal black box tool that you can pretty much have on you wherever you are, I was pretty excited and felt, okay, I need this right now. So I first learned about it. I was at EAA talking to people, and I met this lady from the Air Force. She turns out she works at the United States Mission Control Center, and she handles all the data and all the messages and all the signals from this system. So what it is, it's a worldwide search and rescue satellite-aided tracking system. 411 lives have already been saved from it last year. So it's already working. It's through NOAA, SARSAT, it's an emergency beacon. And this signal, basically, when it goes off, it can reach satellites up to 22,000 miles away in space.
Wow.
That satellite, yeah, it's really, really cool to think about. So that satellite picks up the data. It then sends it to a local user terminal, which is a receiving station that's here on land and stuff. And then that packages it up and sends it to the U.S. Mission Control Center, which grabs registration information, data on you, where it's at, who they need to call and contact. And it immediately goes to a local center where they send search and rescue, helicopters, boats, ambulances, whatever you need from that situation. So the key thing is you have to register it, right? So they know who's in trouble, who to contact, but it's always going to give that GPS location exactly where you are. And it's the quickest way to get a distress signal out and get help to you. And so they can find you pretty fast. And it goes through clouds. It goes through extreme weather. It goes through no cell phone service. And when we were talking, she was like, no, you need this on a boat. You need it when you're hiking. You need it when you're kayaking. And I was like, okay, how does it go off in the boat? What are you doing? Do you have to push a button in the emergency or what? And she said that the boat ones actually have a tab on them that when they're submerged, it disintegrates and sends the signal on its own. So if you're already in trouble and you can't hit that button, it's going off regardless, and help is on its way to help you, which I think is crucial.
That is absolutely amazing. That reminds me of the feature on a lot of smartwatches now, where if you fall over, the watch can sense it and will request you tell them, have you fallen over? Do you need help? And if you don't respond in enough time, it will call 911 for you and relay the information. Now, is this an app? Is this a device? How much does it cost? How does one get one?
Yes. Okay. So you can find this pretty much anywhere, online, sporting goods stores. There are different kinds. So there's different prices for that. Mm-hmm. The ones for like airplanes, those will go off if they're smashed, right? So that's going to cost a little bit more versus a tab disintegrating versus one that you have on you. You can just Velcro it to you, wear it on a lanyard and push a button. Those are much more affordable. But yeah, you can find them anywhere, and I highly recommend it, and so does she. It was pretty cool to hear about. I mean, dark topic. You never want anything to happen, but if something happens, you want help as fast as possible.
Well, to be fair, though, Brittney, while it is a dark topic, we're talking about hypotheticals, and let's stay in the hypothetical and be proactive instead of having to be reactive on these matters. So it's always good to get this information out there. And this just sounds amazing. I can't believe I've never heard of this before. And it doesn't seem like the most modern of technology in as much as it feels like it's been around for a while. And this is the first time I'm ever hearing of it.
Same. And it has been around for a while. And it's just really cool to think about all of those satellites out in outer space could work to help us. Why not use them?
Love it. Now, what do we have coming up briefly in the weather this week? I know it got cooler last week. All of a sudden, it's 58 degrees. It feels like fall is coming here early. But what can we look forward to just in the days ahead?
Well, another cold front coming through. How's that? Fall settling in. More rain. But hey, we stayed dry for a majority of the weekend. It was gorgeous for the holiday. But yeah, cold front moving through tomorrow. Should push a little bit of a 1/4 inch of rain or so through the area. But behind that, it does look like some mid-60s possibly Thursday, and maybe some mid-60s as we go into the weekend as well. So fall weather is here. I mean, we saw frost advisories last week go out. I expect some more this week, possibly far up north. I don't think it's going to make its way here just yet, but hey, just know that the flannel weather is in full force.
I was going to say, time to bust out the flannel, time to put on those comfy wool socks, and as you put it, pumpkin spice and everything nice.
Yeah, hoodie weather, sweater weather.
Yeah, that's right. I'm deeply fluent in the language of hoodies, so I'm very much covered for the coming months. Brittney, thank you so much for being here. I always appreciate having you on the show, talking about not just the weather, but everything we need to know about the weather around us and how it affects us. And as you just put it, keeping us safe.
Absolutely. Got to do it, and I love it. Thank you so much, Greg.
Have a wonderful day, my friend.
You too.
Big thanks to Brittney Merlot for stopping by to talk to us about a very important thing. Always important to keep yourself safe when you're out there in the world. And if you want to read more from Brittney, that's simple. Go to civicmedia.us/news. There you will find a treasure trove of articles. And it's not just about the weather, but if you want to find out more, that's when you got to go to civicmedia.us/news.
Stick around because after Mornings with Pat Kreitlow is Jane Matanair and me with Matanair on Air. And today at 9:35, we welcome Todd Alba, host of The Todd Alba Show, as well as candidate for State Senate of District 5, Sarah Harrison. Stay tuned. You're listening to WAUK's local report on Mornings with Pat Kreitlow. To stay up to date with everything going on in southeastern Wisconsin, go to WAUKradio.com and sign up for our newsletter. For WAUK and Civic Media, my name is Greg Bach. Have a wonderful Tuesday. I'll talk to you tomorrow. It's 8:29.
The national news cycle never stops, but it can be hard to find news about your local community. Civic Media is dedicated to providing quality local and state news coverage across Wisconsin. With the Civic Media app, you can get notifications about local stories that matter to you and your community. Find the free Civic Media app in your phone's app store and choose notifications from the menu to tell us what kind of news you want to hear about.